Today, we are making one of the most beloved treats on Disney Parks property. One of my favorite treats, Mickey Krispy Treats! Something that makes these treats loved by just about everybody is that they are extremely customizable. Down from the chocolate, you can use milk, dark, or white chocolate. Over to the toppings, I like to use coconut flakes, sprinkles, and mini M&Ms the best, but you could also use different toppings like Oreos or other crushed candies. And then, if you want to take it a step further, you can add a drizzle. You can add a chocolate drizzle with the same chocolate that you use to dip the crispy treats in, or you could mix different kinds of chocolates, add a white drizzle on a milk chocolate crispy treat, or you could be creative and do a caramel drizzle or a peanut butter drizzle. Whew, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. So if you want to learn how I used to do it when I was at Disney, stay tuned. First things first, we are going to make our Rice Krispie Treats. Now you don't want them too hard or too soft because we will be dipping it in chocolate and then covering it with toppings. So you don't want it to be too hard that you won't be able to cut out your shapes, or too soft that it just falls apart and you won't be able to dip it. But today we are going to be using 12 ounces of toasted rice cereal, 26-ish ounces of mini marshmallows. Tip number one, I like to use mini marshmallows because I find that they melt more easily. You don't want to be stirring a pot with big marshmallows because nobody has time for that. You'll also need a half cup of butter, dipping chocolate of your choice, some of your favorite toppings. I like to use mini M&Ms, coconut flakes, sprinkles, and crushed Oreos. You'll also need a cookie cutter. I have a Mickey Mouse cutter. This is actually a sandwich cutter, which I find works a little better because it's so long this way, so that way you can get really thick marshmallow treats. First, you're going to want to spray a cooking sheet and a spatula or spoon with non-stick cooking spray or whatever you like to grease down your pans, and set that aside for later. Then in a large pot, you're going to melt your stick of butter over medium heat. Once the butter is melted, you're going to want to add in your 26-ish ounces of mini marshmallows, stirring occasionally so that they don't burn and that everything melts evenly. After the marshmallow is melted, take it off the heat and add in your 12 ounces of toasted rice cereal. Mix it all together until it is all incorporated. Then pour out the warm crispy treats on the pan, smooth with that spatula or spoon until it completely covers the pan. Then you're going to want to make the top as even as possible, filling in all the spaces and making sure that there are no big lumps. Another tip, if your marshmallow treats are too soft and they pull apart really easily, before you cut them, stick them in the fridge or the freezer so that they can set up a bit more, so that way they won't be falling apart when you go to cut them, and then when you go to dip them, they won't be swimming in chocolate. While the Rice Krispie Treats set up, we can crush our Oreos. You can crush your Oreos however you'd like. You can use a food processor, a blender, or the good old-fashioned spoon and bag. Crush it up to whatever you like. Some people like Oreo dust. You can leave some chunks in there as well, however you like. Here is how the Oreos turned out. To be honest, I probably could have ground them a bit more, but you know what? These will do just fine. I used about 1.5 sleeves or rows to kind of fill this bowl for reference. Here are my Rice Krispie Treats. I actually pressed them a little further in so that they were still pretty thick and that they wouldn't be completely thin. You could also use maybe a 9x13 pan if you wanted really thick Krispy Treats. But yeah, this is what it looks like. After your Rice Krispie Treats have set up, you can then take your cookie cutter and cut out the shapes. With the excess pieces, you can try to mold them together so that you can create another shape, but you can also use the scrap pieces and dip them. It doesn't really matter if they're Mickey or not. Then you're going to want to melt your chocolate. I have two kinds of chocolate I will be using today. I'll be using milk chocolate and white chocolate. To melt the chocolate, I'm using a double boiler, but you can also use a chocolate warmer or melt it in the microwave. You just have to be careful that it doesn't seize. The first kind of decorating we're going to be doing is the classic Mickey ear hat. Take Mickey upside down so that the ears will go in the chocolate first and dip him in your bowl. If you have a deep enough bowl, you'll be able to dip him in once and pull him out. But for me, I didn't have a lot of chocolate, so I needed to kind of go back and forth, making sure that both sides were covered, including the sides of the ears as well. Then shake off the excess chocolate. You can either leave it plain like this, or you can add some sprinkles. Lay it flat, and then you're finished. The next kind of decorating we're going to be doing is the kind most commonly found in the Disney theme parks. First, you're going to take one side of your Rice Krispie Treat and dip it face down in the chocolate. Make sure the whole surface is covered and shake off the excess chocolate. Then you'll want to transfer it straight into your toppings. I like to use a deep bowl so that I can push the Rice Krispie Treat inside of it. Another tip. While you're waiting for the Krispies to dry in the toppings, you can actually stick them in the fridge to speed up that cooling process. To prevent chocolate from getting on my hands with the drizzle, I put my Rice Krispie Treat in a bigger bowl, then proceeded to drizzle the chocolate over it. If you don't have a big enough pot of chocolate to completely submerge the face of your Mickey, you can paint the chocolate on with a spatula or spoon. You just have to make sure that the complete surface is covered. Then proceed to dip it in the toppings. Here's how some of mine turned out. I am very pleased overall. They remind me of the ones that I used to make at Disney. They're extremely delicious. I found that this recipe yielded about 17 to 18 Rice Krispie Treats, but you have to remember it also depends on how thick you have your Rice Krispie Treats. That is how you make and decorate Mickey Mouse Rice Krispie Treats. These are always one of my favorite things to make and eat when I worked at Disney. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy making!